Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Connor. We are here with your instant press conference reaction, and it's just going to be a bit of a bite-sized one, everybody. We do have the debrief back tonight with my old man, where we're going to be looking at Leeds United for the remaining games, I should say. Borough up next tomorrow as the Whites travel to T-Siders. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a tough game for Leeds. 3-4 last season as Willie Gnonto stepped up on T-side. And yeah, it was an absolute barnstormer of the game. I can see it being no defense is really being taken into consideration in this game as well. I think it's just going to be sort of yin and yang, back to front, and it's going to be a bit of a barnstormer, and we're going to be breaking that down a little bit later on. Getting into Daniel Farke's press conference, bite size. Matteo Joseph is back. Patrick Bamford is also favoured. Farke has been speaking about him. Is he going to go with the old Joel Peru pivot we saw last January when Peru wasn't performing? We know now he's got one goal in, I believe it's 9 games, could be 8 games, but I think it's 9 games. And you've got another situation as well where Bamford at the weekend performed better. And as you can see on the injury ticker here, he's happy he's back. Injury holes as well. Joe Rothwell is out for this game week and out until the last 2. He also spoke about Pascal Strauch. He's going to be out for 2 games, but dependent on surge, on a possible fracture, I should say, it might be a season ender. Daniel Farke also spoke about accumulating 82, currently 92, 97, 93 points in his campaigns in the Championship. He's asked about Chris Wilder as well, everybody. Obviously, he's been getting backlash. Chris Wilder, quite staggeringly, actually, from certain Sheffield United fans calling their team out after they lost against Oxford. Obviously, Wilder's bunch hadn't been beaten in around 2 months, really. So he wasn't happy about that. So Farke was asked about that, didn't really develop on that. Farke did say, my football is made for winning games. He also said he also mentioned that he doesn't want to slaughter his own players. And I've just kind of asterisked a Ramazani bit there. Not slaughtering Ramazani, of course, because that is going a little bit too far, but definitely pulling him out from the crowd, of which, myself and others haven't appreciated. He said Luton was such a difficult game and a point was a good one. And he said it's now in our hands. Obviously, you can see Sheffield United and Burnley playing each other in game week 44. And technically, Daniel Farke is correct. So Leeds go on a winning run right now. There is a huge likelihood or almost a certainty that Leeds get to the Premier League. And he's quite right. He mentioned that Leeds have the most emotional fans, or one of the most emotional fan bases in the country. I mentioned the word overreact as well, which is a bit of a thing with me because it's almost like we're all thick. Daniel has the plan and we all overreact, and we have the tendency to overreact, even though it is one win in 6. It's not an overreaction. I think we've all been very, very much behind, Leeds United this season. I know this isn't what he's saying, by the way. This is me just, going on a little bit of a tangent, but I think Leeds United fans are very emotional in a positive way as well. We very much back the lads, and throughout the season, for 90% of it, it's been absolutely barnstorming, brilliant. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Unfortunately, this has happened right now, which means that we're all a little bit upset with what's gone on for the 2nd year running with the same patterns again. Mentioned nerves in and around the club, which is kind of a thing that he keeps doing at this moment in time. But he's right. And then he was asked, thank God, by Graham Smith about Largie Ramazani as well. As you can see on the ticker there, everybody, it looks like, I think I mentioned that Joseph's available, which is good, gives us a little bit more variety and options if he is utilised a little bit more. But well done to Graham for asking him a question about Largie Ramazani. I just don't think he's his type of winger. And that's just a summarization right now. And it's kind of followed on by the quotes that I'm going to read to you right now. But he's just not his type of winger. And I think that's fine if Daniel Farke doesn't feel like that. But he mentioned, I'm not in the habit of speaking about tiredness. If you do that, then you will feel tired. Look at Jayden Anthony at Burnley. Has played lots, got a brace. It's not like many of my players have started 40-plus games this season. It's funny how he mentions Jayden Anthony because obviously Anthony just wasn't utilised at all last season. But he's a good example, to be fair, with how well he's done. Ramazani says, we all love Largie. We know Largie has the capacity to get fans off their seat. He's an emotional player. We're not angry with him. There's a few things he has to learn. You have to show them in training to earn the right for more minutes. And once again, it's the training thing, which none of us see. The training thing has been mentioned when it's come to a lot of players in Daniel Farke's management, we broke it down last night. When it comes to, several players, really, when it comes to Campbell at Norwich and Gumu at Mönchengladbach, it feels like it's been a thing with Ramazani now for a while, and it just feels like certain things Farke doesn't appreciate it. We had it with the Rutter and Somerville when it came to skills in certain capacities of games of which he didn't like and would call out in post and pre-match press conferences. And it feels like this season with Ramazani, it's something, I don't know if something's happened. I understand what he's trying to say in terms of he loves him, he's an emotional player, but you kind of want that now. I want emotional players. I want an emotional player to get involved in this. We need a bit of zip. We need something. We need a bit of verve, a bit of vigor, a player to get us all off our seats. And he mentioned as well in being strong and reliable. He spoke about distance being covered. And I don't know, it felt like he was insinuating a little bit that maybe when Ramazani's coming on, the distance isn't covered in a certain way to who he's coming on for. But it's game state, isn't it? He lost the ball. We all know the big one that he lost the ball on when Leeds were winning the game. And what I would say about when he did lose that ball is there was no one in and around him, so he didn't protect the ball well. But he nutmegged his man, got to the other side, and he was kind of looking around, scanning a little bit. And as he was looking around, he got robbed of the ball. It happens in football, doesn't it? We're all very, very aware of that. But what he didn't then mention was that Tanaka lost his duel. The ball was played through again. The defense was just an absolute sieve at that point. And then the Swansea player put the ball in from an angle of which was purely embarrassing from a goalkeeper standard. But he doesn't mention the goalkeeper. He doesn't mention the fact that Tanaka lost his duel as well and lost several duels in that game, even though we've mentioned previously that he has spoken about Tanaka in a little bit of a negative way. But he mentioned it being strong, reliable. How I would go about this is just starting then. If he is X factor, start him. And then if you want to manage the game, bring him off, bring the more reliable players on, the stronger, the better players in those instances. Bring on make the X factor start, win us the game. And if you don't trust him, even though he's got the most XG and the most XA, I believe, in the Leeds United side still per 90. Ball recoveries per 90, he's still well up there and was third in the division. So he clearly does put the yards in. He is very effective, not just from an attacking, offensive standpoint. He is good, in my opinion, anyway, when I've watched Largie, which is backed up by the data as well, in terms of defending. I always thought he was extremely aggressive and tenacious in duels. Farke doesn't think that, which is fine. But start him then. You take the game away from Borough. Let's see a bit of combination between him and Nonto, opening space up for Nonto, opening space up for other players, because Ramazani is going to get doubled up on because he's that good. He mentioned him having the X factor, And then he mentioned a little bit later on in this press conference that he needs development. Is it development, or is it doubt, or is it a combination of them both? I don't know what it is right now, but it just feels to me that he's just not his type of player. And I don't know why that is, but he's just not his type of player. And maybe that's, sometimes he's never going to come out and say that. Of course he's not. He's not stupid. But it just feels like that is what we're all reading between the lines now. And when he's saying stuff like he still needs to develop, he's not going to, that means he's not going to start him. And he mentioned as well, losing the ball at home, that situation. He's also mentioned not obviously slaughtering players and doing all that sort of stuff. You can't mention Ramazani losing the ball in a certain situation where he's been given absolutely no minutes whatsoever anywhere to back any of the development side of things up. But then you forgot to mention the fact that Solomon was at fault for Luton's first goal because he wasn't tracking Isaiah Jones. Firpo cut inside to track his man because his man was free around the back post. Manor Solomon is supposed to be tracking his man, which he wasn't. That's not mentioned again, We're still not isolating Ilan Mele's mistakes when we're talking about Ramazani losing the ball. Why don't we then speak about what Ilan Mele did again in terms of letting the ball through? The thing is, we've got one standard here and we've got another standard here. It has to work on all fronts, and I just think it doesn't a lot of the time. However, guys, we're going to be going into a little bit more depth a little bit later on. I think it's going to be Gruev. I think it's going to be Tanaka in the midfield and Purdue at the back. I don't think Verba's going to be playing. I still think, even with what Farke was saying, it's a little bit more focused on Verba getting back match fit, which he clearly isn't right now. But we're going to be back a little bit later on with the debrief with my old man. See you then.